homes built in 7 years. And we're doing a pro forma and then spreading that out to be used by each county across Ontario. So we have the same template, we're not going to be duplicating, and I think that's one of the key things. We have to work together, and once we get a model in place, we're looking at that model. People will ask me, how many houses or units are you going to build in Peterborough? And each of the areas, Peterborough County, we have a wait list. I believe it's longer than 7 years now. We're looking at the wait lists in each county, and each one will get a percentage of that, so it's spread right across the province. Because the key thing is, we have to have houses if we're going to house our labor force. If we don't have our labor force, then they're just, and I see I'm getting waved off here, prosperity is shared. It trickles down, so that's what we have to focus on.
Jeff Bill, do you want to answer?
One of the key things we need to do is expedite planning applications. What struck me when I arrived at City Hall, there is a great development on the former K Funeral Home property. You can see it at my office each and every day. So when the developer came in to see me, Simon Chang, to have a conversation about that, he said, you know, Jeff, I'm being held up because of they're trying to determine where the flower planters should go in the driveway. I said, flower planters in the driveway, and we're holding up this multi-unit application in the city of Peterborough. I said, I'm not too good at, deciding things, but I can tell you, I could probably find a spot for those flower planters to go, and let's get the building done. So that's the kind of thing that we need to do, is to expedite things. You know, it took 2 years. It was mentioned by introduction that I'm involved in the strategic planning committee, the Kawartha Golf and Country Club. It took 2 years to get a planning approval for a maintenance shed. Ladies and gentlemen, that can't be allowed to continue to happen in the city of Peterborough.
Yeah, what he just said. And that's really it. Like that, I like that really concrete example there, Jeff, of like everybody kind of knows it. Everybody who's building houses, contractors know this. Like that, it's sometimes absolutely ridiculous what is holding up something being ready to build. And that's what I said. There's people who are ready to build the house, people who have the knowledge to build multi-unit houses, to build that, and they just can't. And so I think one of the big things that is an elephant in the room is you do have to have leadership of being involved. And I'll give, Jeff, he's been really great at communicating, and Dave and Bonnie, like working together to answer, like, and having that communication and working alongside each other is really, really valuable. It seems like it's not policy, but if you don't have people who don't work together, you've got a major problem. So I think move the flower pots and build the house, I think, is the take-home message for today.
Go ahead, Dave Smith.
I think it's interesting that 2 real estate agents ask about housing consistently.
First up.
We're just reading them now. So Jeff touched on a couple of things, and I'm going to expand on some of them. The average length of time it takes now from start of the purchase of property until the development is made on something that is of a larger scale. And a larger scale is 10 or more units. The average time in Ontario is 12 years. 12 years is how long it takes for someone to buy the property, get all of the approvals, and get the shovels in the ground to do it. Now, when you think about that, you bought the property at a certain price. You borrowed the money for it. You paid the interest on that for the entire 12 years without any income coming in. And then people say to you, why is it so expensive to buy? Well, when you bought it 12 years ago, the cost of construction was significantly smaller than it is today. You've had all of those carrying costs, and all of that gets put onto the individual. And then on top of that, you have extra charges that get thrown into it. It's not the developer that's paying for it, it's the consumer who is buying it. And that is what's causing the problem with it being so unaffordable. We have to change that. It cannot take 12 years to do this. We need to get it down. And some of the legislation that we've put in have been service level agreements forcing planning to actually be done quicker. And we have to continue down that path. so that you're not carrying the cost of something for a decade before it's being sold.
And Bonnie Clark, if you'd like to add to that, you have 30 seconds.
I would just like to add one more thing, and that's how to streamline, and I'm talking about the 1,000-foot level. In my own municipality of OSM, a severance will come in off a larger property. We know, we approve it because we know it's going to be a residential unit. That then has to come back in front of council for a bylaw and a rezoning to make it residential. We have passed where staff can do that without it coming back because it was just really turning the clock backwards. We know we're going to pass it. We wouldn't have done the initial severance without the understanding. So if we can look at those things on the front lines and be able to streamline it, we can move things. And as I say, this is at the 1,000-foot level, and I certainly appreciate, looking at the 40,000 down. But I think there's things we can do when we're on the front line. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we change topics, I just want to remind everyone